This video is going to show you a solo GM getting platinum rank proven grounds on a hunter clear. We've showcased the warlock run, we showcased the titan run, so we'll round things out with a hunter run. Now I've been lackadaisy with hunter lately, so I'm going to need to do more hunter things in future, because I have neglected hunter since Final Shape. I have to acknowledge it a little bit, but I got a little motivation. I want you to read this comment with great audacity. Let's read it. At X-Ray 5043 says this: Solo Titan and Warlock vids are mid. Use the class without survivability and armor. Use Hunter. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack with that statement, or a few statements there. Even though it's such a small comment, there's so much. So what he's saying is, Hunters don't have survivability or armor. They just use Titan towels. They use a Titan towel when no one looks, and they don't have anything to survive with. They have no survivability at all. Yeah, dude, totally right. No survivability on hunters. I feel for you, look. I feel for you, man. Assassin's Cowl, it's trash. I know, man. It doesn't do any of this stuff it says. Oh, and they don't have other stuff, like other classes. They don't have restoration. They don't have restoration, do they? This fragment lies. The D2 Science Lab has not invented woven mail or restoration yet for hunters. They don't have the best survivability stuff. They don't have it. In quotation marks. Right, so this is the setup that I'm using, and it's a very good setup for this. And it'll become clear in the run. So we're using Arc Staff, Marksman's Dodge, Disorient Blow to blind enemies, better than Combo Blow for this setup. Believe me on that. Pulse Grenade, aspects were Flow State, Lethal Current. Fragments were Spark of Resistance for Resistance, Spark of Ions for Ionic Traces, Spark of Feedback for a plus 10 free Resilience, and Spark of Shock to jolt targets with our Arc Grenade. We are using Lost Signal, a Area Denial GL for debuffs and such. We are using Doom of Chelchis for a void weapon. We must have a void weapon on to make all of this be good. And we're using Anarchy, because we are just using Anarchy. We are using the exotic chestplate Raiden Flux, Synapse Junctions. Quick successive attacks with Arc Staff increases its damage, output, and duration. By the way, this is essentially what Symphoceps does for Titans, the super portion of it. It's basically the same buff as Symphos, 50% buff, just shy of 50% buff. So you need to get that in your mind. It's actually doing quite a lot when paired with Lethal Current as well, which you must put that on, right? So that's what we're using. These are our mods. I'm not going to go through all of that right now, right here. As things have become clear, just one quick description on the mod. By the way, Arc Surge was on, and Stasis Surge. So this mod here, Void Hunger, let's just quickly read through it, because just to confirm to people. Savathun has launched you a worm. When it hungers, deal damage of the focus type to satiate it. When the worm is full, your ability regeneration is increased. If the worm starves, your ability regeneration is reduced, and you take increased damage from the focus damage type. So we're basically going to get an increase to ability regen if we use a reliable source of void energy. Therefore, we had a Void Scout Rifle on to supplement this. And we can build into this mod, which is exclusive to this week. But I wanted to get it clear with the loadout that you see, to show you how good this super can be when you know what you're doing. So that was the setup. Okay, so with the Hunter clear, we're going to make our way to the left-hand side and take down the turrets, which I'm going to take down this one first, just to proc some Void Hunger. We may as well proc, which can be procced in less than a magazine with this Void Scout. So we may as well start our ability surge strategies going, which you'll see a lot of that in this video, where I strategize around the mod much more than what I did on the other two videos. And I also think it's better to run a Scout Rifle that's Void, as opposed to probably a Void Special or Heavy. Overall, it's more uptime on the Void Hunger because you've got a primary on. You can just use it more than what you would, for example, say Velocity Baton, which is really good for this. It's an absolute fantastic weapon. But I think for more Void Hunger in this sense, the Scout's better. So melt down the barrier like you just saw, right, that I did from this cliffside. I like to take down the Bane, wherever Bane that you get. It just depends, but take down your Bane before you push up and take down the turrets. This is just something that I like to do. Now remember, this build has no survivability apparently. Hunters don't have survivability. But I know I've made an example of the guy, but I am going to bring up some important topics about survivability and what exactly it means to D2, because when we define survivability, what do you define it as? Right? Well, somebody would immediately say something that keeps you in the fight, something that gives you health regen. And that's not entirely true though, is it? Because survivability is to not die, and there are multiple ways to not die. That can be via builds, it can be via knowledge. Survivability can be via knowledge. One example would be, okay, he's a top class player trying to survive with no build and he still survives. Well, then how is he surviving? Because he has no build. Get it? He has no build, so how is he surviving? Well, that's because of his in-game knowledge. We're gonna stun this unstop here with Anarchy first for the debuff, and then we just pop super. Look at the amount of damage it did to that champ there, and we've got half a super yet. Half a super. We'll take down the final turret, and then here we go. So yeah, we'll now stand here, which is mainly where people do stand. Pay attention to my ability energy. The amount of dodges I am allowed to pull off. Which we've got Bomber on our class item to keep proccing more nades. Which that's what this build's about. It's about throwing as many pulse nades as you can, really. Not so much about punch dodging. Although punching is extremely valuable. The dodge that I have on, the punch that I have on, the disorienting blow will stop and unstop at face value. Now I know that Anarchy will over time, but it won't be an instant stop, and that will become more critical when we're on the double unstops, the twin unstops at the final boss. Right now we'll proc with Anarchy with the unstop from a range. And we'll just keep spamming our stuff. Make sure that we keep getting our debuff with our GL. We can keep building up Void Starvation. Unstop's going to spawn to our left in a minute, which we've got a super for. I can't mind if I use it, if I use a super or not. I think I do. Trigger is half HP, of course. But just look, it's crazy the amount of class dodges that I'm getting. It's crazy. Boss is immune. Now we can look to our left. Just spam your stuff. Which is doing a lot of good chain damage there. We'll get a stun. So you see that. We get a stun with the disorienting blow. And then we can melt. So let's talk about combinations with the Arc Staff. So there's the unique thing about Arc Staff is it's the only super in the game where it has different combinations of a way to attack enemies in this manner. As in, you can do dodge, R1, 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 or dodge, R1, R1, R2. It's almost like a fighting game at that point. No other super does it in this way. You can play Berserker, you know, do your light swing, heavy, and all that stuff, but it's not exactly the same. This is the only super to have combinations built within the super. Silk Strike doesn't do it either. Silk Strike's just got the heavy attack and the light attack, but you can't do different combinations like what you can with Arc Strider, right? So what you need to know, simplified version, is the highest damage you can do with this super is get a debuff on that target, definitely with the GL, pop super, dodge with lethal current, and you will get Synapse Junction from Raiden Flux, the exotic chestplate, right? You can then melt with light, heavy. So if you're on PC or console, It's light, light, heavy. So console, it's R1, R1, R2. On PC, it's whatever your bindings are. It's whatever your bindings are. Light, light, heavy. It's the palm attack. Specifically, the palm attack is what does all the damage for us. Now look at this. We've got Void Starvation and we haven't got a super. We want a super for double tank room. We're on a build that the main part of the build is its exotic usage. So you want to bet for the most difficult part of the run that we want a super. It probably is the most difficult part, I think. Because there's a lot that can go wrong with it. There's a lot that can go wrong with it. So that's why we've got a super for that bit. Which you will get a super within at least 2 Void Hunger procs from my knowledge. Half a super, depending on what targets you're hitting. If you're hitting increased targets and you're getting orbs of power, then it'll be even more than half. But it's roughly about that. 2 procs of Void Hunger will get my super back. So we'll get a jolt and then we'll try and clear out all those enemies and we're going to check what enemy type we've got. I was going to jump down, but we'll check. Because if you get Drain, it can be game over. If you get a Bane that is Drain, then it's game over, probably. You may survive in the super, but if you don't pop it quick enough, the drain will just kill you pretty fast. In the manner that what we want to do this. The manner that we want to do this is to get rid of the vehicles up top, like this. Then we're going to jump down, and then we're going to deal with the middle stuff. Right? Because there is snipers left and right. We haven't killed the snipers yet. But that's fine. We're going to be able to out-tank that stuff when we pop super. Because we get super armor. When you pop any style of Roman super in the game, you will get a super armor resistance. That does stack with tier 10 Resil. It's literally the most tanky you can be in a GM. Right? Apart from maybe the Unbreakable Void aspect. Or a Ursa Furiosa Titan with the shield. Or a bubble. Apart from those things, this is like as tanky as you can get. I'm not talking about woven mail and all that. I'm just talking about in terms of your character, the amount that you can, tank. So look at this, right? We're getting blinded. We're getting hit by a lot of stuff. Look at our health. We're barely taking any damage there, and the super has done a critical job for us. It's cleared mid. It has cleared mid of the Bane. Because that VIP target, one of them will be a Bane. It could be Meteors. It could be Drain. If it is Drain and you get killed by Drain, just reset your running. You were unlucky. Right? Now we're getting naded quite a lot here. There's snipers left and right. We've chose left to fight from. This is our base of operations. Do not aggro the double barriers in mid. Not on this build. So you're learning a bit more about the run now. Okay? Because I can't just use Graviton Forfeit and invis round the room, can I? Okay, so an extra tip for you is we can still stay safe without going invis or doing some sort of Assassin's Cowl setup. The way is just to use common sense. Don't enrage the barriers. Oh, but you're going to ask, well, how do I not enrage them? Don't look at them, dude. That is it. Look, the barriers have not touched me. They haven't. They actually have de-aggroed entirely. Right? That means we can stand here and work the room a little bit. Clear out some of those annoying legionaries that throw grenades. And then, and only then, we will then push the barriers on this loadout. So we'll get a debuff plus pulse grenade, which will do our chip damage for first shield break. We get our first shield break. We get the shield down, no problem. And then we're going to do the positioning exactly so that we can only see one of the barriers, not both. Because that would mean both of them will blind us. We'll sprinkle in some Anarchy. We'll sprinkle in some Area Denial GL. And that will be the way that we deal with the barriers, the double barriers. Once one's down, the other one's going down fairly quickly. Because now it's half the battle. And we can we have then controlled the entire room by doing little. Sometimes the less you do, movement-wise, the better. Because it's de-aggroing certain enemy types to stop them from pushing you. Whereas if you just run around the map like a wild man, you're going to find that you're doing a hell of a lot more than what you needed to do in the first place. Just stand on left. That's all you need to do. Even if the vehicles are up and you didn't decide to take the vehicles down, you can still just stand on left. All right, because right's identical to the left. But I fight from left because I'm a right-handed player. I know that's going to sound silly, but I think there's something about that, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, is which side of a room that you'll pick to fight from. Have a think about that if you are left-handed or right-handed, and think about how that incorporates to your playstyle. Does it? Because that's something that's very rarely talked about, is playstyle. So think about it. Are you left-handed or right-handed? So I'm right-handed, so I like to fight from the left because I can peek from the right. Get it? So if you're left-handed, I'm interested, do you fight from the right? Because that means you can peek from the left. Sounds daft, but it's an absolute truth. It's a real-world clue of playstyle, not just me talking rubbish about, go and get this god roll, it'll help you. Well, it will help you, but that's not just that's just one part of the puzzle to get good in the game. You understand a god roll, right? 90% of us understand what god rolls are. We understand what god rolls to chase, but then you got to use the damn thing. That's your next goal, is to use it, and then that's where all the nuance comes on how to use things correctly, how to play rooms. Like right now, I'm playing this room perfectly in accordance to what I'm using, because I can't push up with invis, but I can work the room to my advantage and take down the vehicle at the backs to stop the 1 KO, because yes, they can 1 KO you, but you notice I got the VIP target Scion. Now this is RNG based and you might not get the Scion, but if you get the Scion, you have won the RNG lottery, because this allows you to work the room, take down explosives, do an ammo run before double tank section, because the double tank section is a make or break of your run. Can be, if you're not playing perfectly. Now I've got no survivability, like what X-Ray 5046, whatever he was called, do without survivability. Well, it kind of is a build without survivability, but let's define the word survivability though, because we have super resistance. This build has more super resistance or lasts longer than other supers because of Raiden Flux. Therefore, I've got more super armor, technically, than a Sunbreaker Titan. Haven't I? Technically. I've definitely got more than a T-Crash, because T-Crashes run out quick. I've got more than a Void Sentinel. I've got more than... I've got a longer duration, because the super lasts longer. Get it? Lasts longer than Berserker. It lasts longer than Berserker. It lasts longer than a lot of stuff. So we're going to debuff this tank and see what damage we did. We did good damage, but there's just too much focusing on us. The entire room, may I remind you, was focused on me with my lightsaber. So, hey, look, I had to back up, and that was the right call. It was the absolute right call to back up, but that's the first time I'd used Axe Rider on a tank in GM Proven Ground. So I was like, oh, okay. It would have killed the tank if there wasn't so many ads alive, but that's never your focus on this phase, because all the ads are aggroed on you on double tanked phase. To stop that from happening is simple, just kill the 2 tanks, but you need to stand somewhere to do that, right? Well, I stand from left because I'm a right-handed player. Same thing, I can peek right. Same thing. So if you're a left-handed player, then you might play from right. I don't know. Have a think about it. Something that you probably never thought about. But I play on this side, and I just think it works well for me. So the goal right here is just to keep nading and doing damage with Anarchy or the area denial GL. Now I would advise you that spam more ammo than usual, because the quicker you get that second tank down, the quicker that the ads will stop. They will stop being aggroed on you once the second tank is destroyed. Why? Because this is an AI pattern, this. The ads will behave differently once the second tank is killed. They cluster up at the exit. Ads will block an exit. This is critical stuff, right? They will block an exit once the VIP target is killed, which the VIP target technically was the tank, the second one, because he's taken up that play space. He's the one blocking the exit. Whereas the other ads, they're fighting from the back of the map where you are, trying to nade you constantly. Once that second tank's down, the snipers also jump down. The snipers jump off their podiums, and they're very dangerous because it's solar threat. Once the snipers jump down, boom, easy. We can control this room so easy. We don't even need no stasis turrets. We don't need anything. All we need is a little common sense up top, upstairs. That's all you need, right? Once you understand that, but you need to have something on to melt down the tanks, of course. We got breach and clear. We've got debuffs via our guns. We have tractor cannon built within GLs, which, by the way, that's not how the game's meant to work. We're not meant to have a debuff via our guns. Bungie gives us this to spice seasons up, but intrinsically the game isn't meant to give you a debuff like that from range unless it's got Withering Gaze on it, like the sniper. Now, Withering Gaze is going to become a very, very important perk after this season. It's not going to be important right now because we have debuff via GL. So what's the point, really? But when the debuff goes away, and assuming we don't get another damn debuff, right, Withering Gaze all of a sudden is very powerful because you can activate a debuff via a sniper, which that's Tractor Cannon's job. And I know Tractor Cannon's the higher debuff, right? So what though? Sometimes you can't get a Tractor Cannon debuff shot off. It depends on what's going on. For example, on a Vesper's Host solo, are you going to go and use Tractor Cannon on that boss if you're not on Prismatic? Probably not, because you're probably going to be doing damage from distance with like Leviathan's Breath or something, right? Or Grand Overture. Well, wouldn't it be nice to get a good debuff off? Well, you could with Withering Gaze, but that doesn't apply to this season, as I said, because we've already got a debuff via GLs, and GLs are just easier to get a debuff off. Now, once we get to this section, I was going to pop super, but I got bad RNG. I got a Drain Bane in this section, which they are the worst drains to get, like I said. So we have to play more reserved. Look at the amount of damage they do to us, you'll see. Even just slightly peeking and stuff. So we need to play a bit more passive. The passive playstyle kicks in and we use more grenades, more GL, more peak pot shots, but sort of evaluating what this drain's doing. And this drain is still on right hand side because the champ's alive. So we need to kill champ. We need to kill champ. That's what we need to do. So there's little tactics that we can do where we can, like this, have the unstop, be curious about us. We can get a stun here, look. We do that. And now we can just melt. I'm going to push back, just in case, though. We don't want any explosive damage melting us like that, because we were pretty weak at that time. And Anarchy does a good job and helps us stay alive. So this drain now will push left. Look, it's magic. I must be able to tell the future, because what I said's happening is happening. Look, he's less interested in us. Why? Because the Unstoppable, his mate Jack, the Unstoppable, was killed. Therefore, he's not as interested in us, and he pushes down below, which is fantastic for us. It means that we can play slightly more aggressive than what we was just before, and we can do our GL shots, and he can't hit us with his tether. Now, this is unique to this run, because you might not get Drain. You might get Meteor. And if you get Meteor, well, it's slightly different. You'll be able to pop a super, just melt him down. You know, whatever it might. Even slowed, if he was slowed, you would be able to just do that. That's one thing I don't like about Drains, is that when people are trying to make content on GMs, it's kind of hard for us, because your Drain might be different than the one I got. And I'm not a fan of that, because I like someone to watch the video and be able to replicate it, and they still will be able to, but they'll have to adjust their strats on a run-by-run basis. That's good for maybe other people, but that's not good for me, and I'm just telling you that it's not good for me. I would rather structured Banes. I don't want randomized Banes. I want it where this Bane will always be a Meteor, this one will be always slow, this one will always be this. If it was Drain, then have it be Drain all the time for this one then. Okay, that's fine. I'm down with that. Just make it so it's Drain all the time, so that we can show other people what to do. But then you would say, well, make a video about Banes. Well, I don't want to. I don't make exclusive videos like that. I sprinkle the knowledge within runs. But I will maybe make a video about Drains, but I don't feel like doing that today. It means I've got to go. Do you understand how much of a pain that is? So then I need to do every single rotation of Banes in the GM and find them. That's work for me. Work that I don't like. I don't like work in that manner. I'd rather just do a clear on something. rather than have to wait, because it's randomized. How many times is it going to take for me to get a healing Cabal? 20 runs? I ain't waiting 20 runs in a GM just to show you a damn video on a healing Cabal. Do you see how it's a nightmare to make the video about Banes when it's better just to do a run, see what Bane we get, and then just disclose it to you. You should be dealing with all Banes similar. Fight from range with them. The Drain one's specific, where you need to play more passive with the Drain ones unless you're going to melt them with a super or something, but be careful, of course, always. And that's my general advice about Banes. All the rest of them are fine, to be honest. In Proving Grounds, majority of the time you're getting the Meteor ones, to be honest, mainly. So that's my advice on Banes. So we're going to try and proc a Void Hunger because we want to get some Pulse Nade energy going for when we're up against the barrier. Because this room's more awkward than the rest. Just because of the nades and what VIP target you get. Now, I got the Scion, so it's not as bad, but I didn't know that I got the Scion until now. But if you get the other guy, the guy that floats in the air, he's annoying to deal with, but you can you can do damage to him because he floats in air a little bit easier. Whereas the Scion will hide and hide and hide forever. But yeah, that's fine. So we're going to deal with this turret here because I haven't dealt with that turret yet. I recommend you try and deal with all turrets before trying to deal with the barrier. For sure. I believe there's one turret to my right, but we can't get a good angle and the barrier's in a good spot. So we'll just deal with barrier first because we can... The turret can't hit me right now, the right side turret that is. So it's fine, I just left that turret up and then we'll just deal with barrier. Nade to my left, always pay attention to legionaries when they nade. Even though they can't 1KO you, they can get you pretty weak. And you could be a clean-up kill from the turret or something else. So always pay attention when you're in a GM Cabal one to the nades. Always pay attention to those solar nades. Because remember, solar threat's on, so they do increase damage, does the solar nades. So this guy's not pushing, and there's a sniper up above. That is a slight risk of death, plus there's a legionary there. So say I got hit by the solar nade, or I got meleeed, and the Scion hit us, and the sniper hit us, all at the same time. That is a death. I'm sure I'm explaining to you what a risk, how a death could happen without that actually happening to me, right? See, I'm constantly evaluating if there will be a risk of death in a run. How many ads are up? Has that ad threw a nade at us? Has he strafed left to get a clean shot on us? All these sort of things are going on in my brain as we do the run. And other players do that as well. You can tell when you watch their gameplay. If there's no commentary, no problem, I can still tell me as a player on what decisions they're making on a second-by-second basis. Literally, that's what makes you decent in these GMs is what is your risk evaluation on such a short space of time. Milliseconds, we're talking millisecond decisions in some GMs. Not so much in Proving Grounds, but in some GMs it definitely is like that. So we're going to use a super here on a Meteor Cabal. If it was the slowed one, it would have been no big deal. If it was the Drain one, it would have been. But my experience is that particular Gladiator is never Drain for me. Again, that might be wrong. It might be that he can be a Drain. I don't know that because I haven't seen every single possibility of a Bane encounter that there is. Again, going over how much of a nightmare it is to make guides on GMs now because of the Banes. But yeah, he doesn't seem to be a Drain, so I just push with super. And if he was, I reckon I would have killed him anyways. I would have out-tanked him. It was just a good super to pop because it condenses all the gladiators into one encounter. So this is also like a little puzzle as well with certain things, is that if you can separate a group of ads from another group of ads, then it's worth sometimes to do a super pop or spend heavy there. And all these decisions that you need to make can be pretty important when you start to break things up encounter by encounter or mobs by mobs. If you can do that. Because if you let the gladiators get out of hand, then the barrier starts being a nuisance to you. Then the leeches start throwing nades at you. Then you got to hang around up at top. That's a time loss. You're messing around. You mess around when all you could have done is just maybe spent more heavy when the gladiators come out of that door. But you needed to know the trigger. And if you didn't know that the VIP was the trigger, not the barrier, because you would think that the barrier would be the trigger, right? Well, the barrier isn't the trigger. The VIP Scion is. Or whatever else it was. So, talking about this in-game knowledge thing, that's survivability. Because we are literally knowing exactly what a trigger of a spawn is to take advantage of a spawn kill on the gladiators via our super. That allows the entire process of this jigsaw puzzle of encounters to be done easier on a build that's got less survivability than other builds. Which, it's true, it has. It has got less survivability than what maybe Starless Executioner on a Prismatic Hunter does for us. That's true, I can't deny that. But a piece of me dies every time I pop a Transcendence. So explain that to me. There's just something intrinsically, as a D2 veteran player, there's something intrinsically wrong to me about having 2 super bars. It's still something I can't accept fully. I just think it's still too OP. It's not Prismatic itself, it's the Transcendence thing. Whether it be on Warlock, Titan or Hunter, I think all of them are broke. It's not just a consecration thing, this. Which people were happy with me on the previous video, because I said Titan Prismatic should be nerfed. They shouldn't. Transcendence should be. I don't think that we should be nerfing consecration, but I think the ability buff that we get via consecration is wrong. I think it's too OP. I think it alienates all the other elements that we have been working towards over 10 years. Arc, Solar and Void. I think it alienates all other subclasses. And I think it comes to the point where people start questioning you. Why are you running only Void? Why are you running only Solar when you could run Prismatic? You have a 3-second super bar. And that's almost certainly true. But I also know what I'm talking about because I played the game too long to not know. If I didn't know what I was talking about, then you would question what the hell am I even doing playing the game after all this time. So I know it's definite that the Transcendence at some point needs to be looked at. Again, it's a wider problem than just Titan Prismatic Consecration spam. It's a wider topic than that because you can do some great things on a Prismatic Hunter when you pop that Transcendence. There's some amazing things you can do with that as well. And same goes for Warlock. The nade's OP. The Void nade in particular. On Transcendence Warlock. Because yes, it's part Void. So there is that. Now we're going to throw a nade here and rally because we'll get all our ability energy back. The nade didn't do anything. But oh well, doesn't matter. So boss spawns in. We're going to do some cycling round this alleyway, whatever we want to call it. We're going to debuff first to Anarchy, and then we're going to do some ad clearing. We're going to try and see if we can get some jolt off, because the ads spawn after so much time after you've done damage to the boss. So we're going to get a good nade off there. That's cleared one half of the room. There's only 6-7 ads per phase, but it's still quite threatening when you've got Legionaries up plus boss. Because when Void Starvation, this is actually really close, watch this. So we're taking tick damage here, I pop super. So that is a prime example of a plan B via your super saving our lives. Because if I didn't have super there, I probably would have died because I took more tick damage than I anticipated from the solar stuff, which was a slight miscalculation. Probably a second miscalculation from me of not realising I was burning too much. I was too slow because I'm a little rusty on Hunter movement because I haven't played Hunter much since Final Shape. My playtime on Hunter is severely a lot less than what it used to be. That's something that I'll need to change going forward. Because I don't want to alienate people who do main Hunter and want to see Hunter runs off me. That's always been the goal, by the way, ever since his channel. That was partly one of my ideas, was whenever there's a Nightfall out, a difficult one, you do run Titan Warlock Hunter. You do not sacrifice any class. That was my ideology 2017. But it was more important then because there was a hell of a lot more people watching and there was a hell of a lot more things going on then, and it made more sense. But I still want to maintain that ideology of no, we master all classes. We don't sacrifice any skill on any of them. Because if you're a guy, for example, who does solo GMs and all you do is a Warlock run, some people look at that as a negative and will get agitated by you if you keep doing only Warlock runs, especially if they're a Hunter main. If they're a Hunter main, like the X-Ray 65 guy, right? If I'm posting too much Warlock runs, look out, he's going to unsubscribe to me because he's fed up on my stuff. He's fed up of Warlock and Titan being OP. He's sick of it. He wants a Hunter run. He must get a Hunter run. But that's what I'm saying in all seriousness. I feel as though a complete player in endgame is somebody who does not main any class. If you main a class, I think it's bad. No matter who you are. If you're Salt of Grapo, if you're Vendetta, none of them do main a class. Right? I know that like Salt's mainly Titan, but he's a complete player because he's good on a Hunter and he's good on a Warlock. Alright? So rule him out. Don't have him as somebody say, oh, well, he mains a Titan. Well, no, he doesn't main a Titan, really. Not in the true aspect that you might main a Titan, where you're somebody who plays at home and you only have a Titan created. Well, then you are truly just maining a Titan, which is a little different. But what I'm saying is the best players, they are complete and they can play all classes. Look at this footage. So we get a stun via our unbinded melee. You can stun unstoppable champions via Arcstrider, which we could have cleared him up there. I actually played too passive. I should have cleared him up. I would have actually killed both unstops with one super, with one Raiden Flux super. That's insane to me. But I forgot about the utility of the lethal current. It blinds them. It doesn't just jolt them, it blinds them. And blind is a key verb to stun unstoppables. That's fine though, we take him from the hallway, that's no problem. But you'll see, now that I know that information, or I've reminded myself, on the next twin unstops, you better bet I am killing both unstops with one super, because we can out-tank. Because we have super armor resist via our super. We can tank the solar flames. We could tank probably 3 waves of solar balls and still survive. And still have enough super to get back to the hallway. The logistics of it all is in my mind because I've got like a 3D sort of space in my mind where I can visualize stuff before I do it. Right? So now on the next twin unstops, right, I'm gonna stop with melee, 2 Anarchy, super quickly, first one, and the quicker we kill the first one, the more likely we are to get a definite kill on the second one, and the more likely we are to survive and get to cover. So there's 3 things. Kill first unstop, kill second unstop, and then have enough super to get away safely, because we're a 2-shot. We had a glass cannon in this. We are a 2-shot because of Void Starvation, and more than likely Void Starvation won't be procced while we're mid-super like that. And yes, the boss does Void damage, and he does 2-shot you when you're in a solo. So this boss, you need to respect him. Because yes, he's easy, but he's not easy when the Void Starvation buff is on. Debuff is on, and he'll kill you quick, really, really quick. You just need to not think about things for 2 seconds, and you're dead. So you need to respect it, especially if you cannot hit invis with one button, which I can't do that, can I? Well, how is it I'm succeeding? I have no armor. I have no survivability. Well, no. I do have survivability, just it's delivered to me in a different way, and that's via my super. It makes total sense to do this because Void Hunger's on, and we get an increased ability recharge rate, which means we're going to get super every 40 seconds more than likely. Probably 50, depending on how good we are at proccing our stuff. We use Anarchy to take down the generator, and then we're just going to spam our GLs left and right. We will use Scout if I feel as though I can, if I'm in a good way to do that, which I was, because the boss is mid, he's not entirely aggroed on me yet, and we've just dealt with the Cabal really quickly there. That's the best way. Try and spawn kill them as quickly as you can coming out of those doors. The quicker you do that, the odds are just increasing of your survivability on a second basis. So once you get, half of the room clear, boom, you're 50% more likely to have a success rate at phase 2. Whereas if you're like, oh, I'll run away from them, then they're going to group up, then things start to have a domino effect where, oh, the ads are now concentrated mid, the boss has jumped left, I go right, oh, but there's a legionary waiting for me on the right hand side. Oh, he's naded me, the oven's on, I've took tick damage, I'm dead. It's a domino effect. And to stop that domino effect from happening, you just need to clear ads fast. But it doesn't mean to say that you do it in such a way that you're unsafe. You do it at full HP. Full HP, go all in, and then start making your decisions. When do you back off, when do you not? Maybe you're half HP, boss is right on top of you, you need to go. Even though your shields are not broken, you are a one-shot. Because the boss may hit you because you're half HP, get it? So it's a constant micromanaging of managing risk. And this isn't something that everyone's going to be able to do. It's just something that you need to start developing. And the easiest way to develop that skill, which I know people haven't developed that skill, even after 10 years, you still haven't developed the skill. And it's simple. The reason why you haven't developed said skill is because you haven't pushed yourself enough. You're wrapping yourself up in cotton wool. You're playing Fireteam too much. Now you could argue I don't play Fireteam enough, and I would agree with you, I probably don't. I probably actually play too much solo, and it's hindered me in the past. I would say that's absolutely true as well. But I would also say back to you, you don't play enough solo stuff, and you haven't enough solo achievements. And getting those solo achievements will enhance you as a player, because you can tap into the solo mode on your Fireteam runs. So your last Guardian standing on a GM run, yeah? What do? Oh, let me pop on my solo GM mode button that I have on the back of my head, and all of a sudden now I can somehow survive. Well, why is that? Oh, that's because of all that solo GM practice that I had months ago. Oh, it's paid off. So it does pay off, even if you're predominantly a guy that plays with your mates, which is most of you. If you have some solo GM experience under your help, even if it's just a case of that you solo every one of the GMs just at least once, that's still more than a lot. Like if you've got 24 hours of solo GM experience under your belt, that's a lot. Now bear in mind, I've got thousands at this point of solo GM experience. That's just GMs. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of it. But imagine if you just had 24, the gains that you would get of just 24 hours. It would be incredible. It would be life-changing to you. You wouldn't get sick of D2 for a bit. You'd be like, oh, why have I been complaining about D2? This game's absolutely amazing. It is amazing. It's just we get wrong decisions made at times. That's what's wrong with it. It's not the game itself. It's just the things that they don't do or should do at times. But there's a lot of good things that they do, and D2 is cooking at the minute. Technically it's cooking. It's just there's all these other outside things going on. There's a mobile game going on. There's all this stuff. It's just pissing people off. And there's all that stuff that's went on in the past that's pissing people off. Now, watch this clip. This clip is a clip. Clip it. 2 Anarchy. Stun. Pop super. Dodge. R1, R1, R2. R1, R1, R2. Melt the champ. We have 75% super left. Dodge. Fireball's coming. We have 75% HP. We keep doing our super. Where shields have not broken yet. Boss does his solar shields. We escape. There you go. I'm here all week. So look at the transition of it. The logistics of all of that work perfect. I don't know if there's much better setups for that, what we just did. The only better setup, I believe, to kill both unstops like that is a Song of Flame Warlock, which, by the way, is absolutely the meta super in this game. It's probably the best super in this game for GMs. It's probably because it puts you in a first-person super, and it gives you Radiant, right? So you can actually not use the super, as I taught you last week, and use it as a weapon super. This was close, by the way. I was actually playing far too aggressive. But, yeah, the fact that this super can achieve something that Song of Flame does, but we're not even using weapons. We did use 2 Anarchy, to be fair, but that's it. He's just showing you how strong it is in the right hands. But again, at face value, it isn't strong. And I know, because people will be like, Axe Rider, how do you even use it? Well, if you played Tekken 2, then you'll be good with this. But if you're rubbish at Tekken 2, or Dead or Alive, right, or games like that, or Street Fighter 2, if you're good at Street Fighter 2, you're good with this super. Now, if you're pants at Tekken 2, then you need to go and use something else because you won't be good at this. So my advice is that you need to get better at fighting games. So go and play Street Fighter 2 for 33 minutes, then come back on D2, then load up my dim link, then use Raiden Flux, then load GM up, and let's see how good you are. Because remember, it stops unstops. It can also kill a barrier from outright from 100% to 0. You've got to be lucky on it, and you need Arc Surge, but it is possible. What I mean is, pop super, not even use barrier on a barrier champ, and melt them. It is possible still. If anyone remembers my inverted spire from years ago, the prime, one of my prime videos, it was an amazing video, of how I taught people about the Raiden Flux, and it would just kill barriers. It's not as good as then, but it's almost as good as then. Alright, because barriers will be stun locked via this super. That's not entirely exactly as it is now. You can't 100% stun lock a barrier. But if you've broken the shield, you can, because you're melting them after that first shield break. And also you can one cycle them. It's just you've got to be exact frame perfect. I have done it, but you've got to be frame perfect. So let's not rely on that frame perfect super that I'm on about. You'd be better just to do Anarchy, get a shield break, then pop super, and you will almost certainly kill barrier. You'd almost certainly. But with unstops, you can jolt them because of lethal current. Lethal current works with the super. So you will stop and unstop with Raiden Flux. So for fireteam runs, if you want to not run unstop, you can actually just do that and use your super as unstop. As you saw, I stunned the unstop in my super. And run Disorient Blow, don't run Combo Blow. This is not Assassin's Cowl Invis. This is a totally different take on Arc Hunter. It's different to punch, dodge, which we get sick of over the years. How tired do you think I am of punch dodging on Hunter? I've done it since day one, punch dodging. I was one of the first to make videos on Liar's Handshake back in the day. I got videos and proof of it in dates and years. So I know all about punch dodging. I've got a degree in it. But sometimes that degree gets old and we get tired. Yeah? And when we get tired of those old knowledges, we then gravitate to other things that we haven't used in a while. In my case, Raiden Flux. I haven't used it in ages. And I was very interested to see what it was like on barriers. And it is amazing. But as I say, the stun lock element to it was changed at some point. Probably Lightfall days it was changed. Where you can't stun lock infinitely. You could stun lock barriers infinitely. Part of me wishes that they would unchange that and make it an infinite stun lock again. Because it's a monk class, this. And what better to be than a monk class being able to stun lock an enemy infinitely? I think that's right. I think the power fantasy is worth it. You don't get invis via anything. So your entire power fantasy is being a monk and being able to stun lock stuff. I think that's absolutely right. So that's one thing I would like to see them change. But we're doing good damage here. We're doing decent damage. We're not going to be able to kill, so we need to have an exit point. So we do that. We dodge away. And we're just going to finish boss off Anarchy and GL. By the way, the less ammo you use at the start of the fight, you will be rewarded with that on phase 3 because you have so much more ammo to spam. So if you're conservative phase 1 and phase 2, which I was to a degree, I have so much ammo. So phase 3 is so easy. Phase 3 is so easy because of that. And I didn't save that much ammo. It's just I had a lot of ammo drops, I suppose. But that was a solo GM on a build that doesn't survive, apparently. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.